Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
On the news. And all of a sudden my brother said, "Hey, they bombed Pearl Harbor." And that was the first, So of course
they were doing the war effort. Everybody was buying war bonds, if you could afford it. I even bought stamps, war stamps, like they weren't that expensive at that time. I don't know whatever happened to them because I never took them in, they weren't that much. But it was, everybody had such a feeling of being true to your country. Everybody, they just paid attention to everything. They would have stuff that they would be collecting, like any aluminum or anything. It was just, it was a different world
So everybody
then.
was patriotic.
Everybody was.
And we had a lot of what would you call them? Restrictions, or like sugar. You could buy a 100-pound sack. And that was all you'd get.
You were only allowed so many coupons according to your family. How many?
nylons, you couldn't get nylon stockings because they went for parachutes.
Yeah.
We had to wear rayon, which took all night to dry when you washed them out. You had to lay it on the radiator. Be sure they were dry in the morning. That was annoying.
Everybody, I didn't put that in there. Everybody had a victory garden. You grew because you couldn't buy a lot of stuff in the store. Mom, I can't believe how hard she worked. With 6 of us kids, she'd have this big garden and she would can. We didn't have a freezer. You didn't freeze vegetables and this and that. But I can remember, as a kid, doing the peas or the green beans and helping Mom. And in our neighborhood, there was only 2 cars in our whole neighborhood. Teben, who lived right across the street, and then down a block or so in the alley was Jen's. There were only 2 cars in that whole big neighborhood. Everybody walked. You walked. I walked a mile to school every morning, every afternoon home. In the snow, no matter how deep it was, you didn't get a ride to school.
Then they quit making cars because they made tanks, and war equipment. And like rubber was hard to come by for tires. And there were no new cars during the war.
And men at that time had to get a defense job or be drafted. And that enabled me to get a really good job with the state government.
Yeah, and what job was that?
Well, I ran a printing machine. I printed all the civil service exams and all the forms that they...
Women were taking men's jobs. I should have saved some of these reminiscences where they're showing all the men or women and had their hair in kerchiefs, and they are working on airplanes. I mean, they were doing a man's work during the war. Women were very, very good workers.
Really?
And they were good. Especially like getting jobs. That was hard because after the guys came back, these women, which were used to making good money, but then their husbands were in the service probably, or their boyfriends too, so they had to go back where they could have their jobs. But it had to be a big transition for some of these people too, that were at that age where they could be working someplace. So I suppose for the women, they hated to give up their jobs if they were like 18 to 20, 25 years old. that was good money if you did work in that kind of place. But it was hard work. They would have the riveters going. I mean, they did actually work on an airplane that a man would do. And this was with the shield over their face.
Those days, well, my sister felt it was kind of an exciting, romantic time because there were so many soldiers around all the time.
Yeah.
They had the USO, and we sang in the glee club and went to all the dances. And I went for a walk with some girlfriends to Minnehaha Park, and we wanted our picture taken together, and there were all kinds of soldiers in the park. And we asked two of them if they would take our picture for us. And as time went on, one of the girls married one of those guys. I dated while he was here before he got sent away, but I didn't marry him. But we'd just come home from church. It was, well, must have been noon, close to 1 o'clock, something like that. And that's when the jitterbug was in vogue, and the big bands, you know, great music compared to today. Fort Snelling was right out here.
Yeah.
And they had what they call a reception center, and they had dances out there. And then they had dances at the USO, which was downtown.
And USO stands for what?
United Service Organization.
Okay. Thank you.
So, and we belonged to a glee club that sang at them too.
Yeah.
So you met guys from all over the country. That was the first time I'd ever heard the expression rot gut. And white trash. I'd never heard those expressions before. There was a guy from West Virginia, I think he was. Yeah. But then there were some from Texas with the Texas drawl, you know, and these two fellows that we met at the park were from Ohio. The music was very good, and lots of patriotic songs, like Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition.
I'll never forget when they came blasting down that highway, because we lived right next to the highway that went all the way then to Jordan. The Shakopee is different now. But I can remember all these guys hanging on both sides, and they were blowing the whistle, and they were just, everybody was happy. Everybody was just, but yet when he came home, I couldn't believe my big brother was only 17 when he had muscles. You know how they show these muscles across your stomach?
Your lats, yeah.
Yeah. And he just matured. He was a handsome young.
I couldn't believe when my brother went into the Air Force and came home and he said that the tails of the planes were 2 stories high. You can't believe this, you know? Because we used to go to the airport every Sunday and watch the biplanes take off. It took till the war came that I finally ate my supper in the dining room. Because there were 9 kids, and my grandma and grandpa used to stay with us, and a great aunt. And the 3 youngest of us, we always ate in the kitchen.